gonna be in here. I'll be a little bit of everywhere.
Something special about a worn cliff. Something about that angular shape and straight edge just gets me all stiff. And the current aphrodisia comes in the form of a tibia. Got a tibia in my pocket, that blade flips like a rocket. That 3V blade cuts all day long, thick stock so you know it's strong. No room to carry a fixed blade today. Grab your folder then, use your shit, it's not made for display. Down cardboard in the garage, cutting down ribs for the barbecue. Made you do chores and you've been married long enough to know your wife will put you to work and your tibia will get you through. Brackets on boxes and tie downs on the truck. A little camp lunch prep, this knife makes short work of them all. EDC task no match. Grab this knife and those tasks are dispatched. Amazon boxes and tie downs on the truck.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Jim, and I'm here to share with you a very special knife. From the bad boys in Spain, Bastards Knives, comes the brand new Tibia. This is designed by me based off of my original custom fixed blade design. And I've had the wonderful opportunity since I became a knife maker to not only satisfy my customers with what I feel are fantastic high-end custom fixed blades, but I've also had the wonderful opportunity to collaborate with a few brands to come out with some pretty darn cool folding knives based off of those designs as well. Now, the first collaboration I ever did was actually on a fixed blade. It was on my first ever design, the occipital. That was the knife that I began my knife making journey with, and it just so happened to be the very first collaboration I did for a production knife as well. And then the second custom knife that I had ever made after the occipital model was my Tibia. And later on down the road, I was able to collaborate with Riot to create a fixed blade tibia, and it was wonderfully popular. Lots of people own them and have seemed to enjoy them, and I'm really super happy for that. But I've always wanted to do a folding tibia, and it's something that I've tried to get off the ground for a number of years, and it just didn't come to fruition the way that I wanted it to. So during the time of waiting, I released a couple of other designs in production folders, namely my Caledon, and then the Scaphoid, and then the Mini Hellraiser. Now, the Caledon was based off of my Exorcist model, and the Scaphoid was based off of my Scaphoid fixed blade model. And I still kept wanting to come back to the Tibia and get that done, but trying to make a compact Wharncliffe and have a handle that's appropriate for it is not as easy as it sounds. Well, I was able to take my sketches and take my ideas to Bastards Knives, and they were able to get it done. So let's take a look at this real quick. First off, some of the packaging. This is the insert that will come with it. And it gives you, I believe, a little bit of story on the knife, but it's in Spanish, so I can't read it, unfortunately. For those of you that are multilingual, you'll have the opportunity to do so. So we'll put that off to the side. And inside of the box is the zippered pouch. They did a really nice job on these pouches, by the way. Really nice. It's got the soft lining inside. They did a really nice job on these. And there's a big Velcro area for your favorite patches. And there she is. Now, this is launching today, August 7th of 2024 at bastardsknives.com. And if you use the code Skelton10 in all caps, you get the early bird 10% discount. The price before the discount is $340. And it will be coming soon to other dealers: Smoky Mountain Knife Works, White Mountain Knives, and there may be one or two others that I just don't know about yet, but those two for certain. Now let's talk about the specs very quickly to get them out of the way, and then we'll get into what the knife is all about. First off, this is a titanium frame liner lock Wharncliffe with an overall length of 8.23 inches and a blade that is 3.46 inches in CPM 3V with cryo. The frame is titanium with a gray DLC coating. Black DLC will be an available option soon, and you get steel on steel lockup. Frame and hardware are all titanium. The backspacer is titanium. Now, the way it went with the Tibia, and I'm going to use my Riot production version here just as an example so that you can see it. When I was making my customs, unless a customer asked for something different, my choice for blade steel on the Tibia was always CPM 3V. Because I wanted something that was tough in case somebody was going to do any light chopping, because that style of blade lends itself well to it. It also needs to have a strong tip that's not going to bend or deform easily, because I'm coming down pretty darn thin at that tip. And I really wanted to have really good edge retention as well. So I was overjoyed when Bastards Knives told me that they could use it on the folders too. When I did the fixed blade project with Riot, the offer was in M390. I was not able to do it in 3V, unfortunately. So, yeah, you can imagine my happiness to go back to my original steel. Now, I had done quite a few of these in Damascus and a few other steels on occasion. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last two that I made were in MagnaCut, because at that time MagnaCut was a brand new thing, and I was just then experimenting with my heat treat on MagnaCut, and I wanted to go back to a model that I knew very, very well in order to use it. Now, one of the unique things about this knife is going to be the way the texturing is done. I want to give you a quick close-up of that so that you can see it up close. You've got very wide chamfers going all the way around the perimeter of the frame, which is going to make this very, very comfortable in the hand. It's going to feel more or less like a tri-plane handle when you're holding it. But the real beauty, honestly, for me, is going to be in that tactile texture. And it may look a little bit familiar to you because I actually borrowed this texture from the James brand model, the Barnes, which to this day is still one of my favorite knives that I constantly carry, and the texture is a big reason why. So I contacted my friend Ryan, who owns the James brand, and he allowed me to closely mimic the texture. I'm going to try to get as close as I can here. There we go. So he allowed me to replicate his texture on my knife, but we didn't do it exactly. It's just very, very, very similar. And it came out so, so good. It also has that same smooth landing pad on the underside of the contact point of the clip, just like the James brand did, so that you don't tear up your pockets when you're taking the knife out or putting it back in. You don't have this rough texture tearing up that fabric. Move you off to the side gently. Gosh, I love that knife so much. So you have a couple of different ways that you can deploy this knife. Now, it has a very, very small flipper tab. I recognize that a lot of people don't like big, large flipper tabs, so sometimes they don't even buy flipper-only knives. So we went as small as we possibly could, but still making it functional as a finger guard so that you can do all the cutting that you're going to do and not worry about your hand sliding up the edge. And then you have this full-length fuller with the speed holes that allows you to, I really haven't tried thumb flicking it. It kind of works, but it's definitely good on the reverse flick with your finger from the backside. Let's take a good look at that handle shape. You'll notice the blade follows perfectly with the shape of the handle, tucks in nicely, and it is impossible for you to snag on the tip of that blade. You can't even get down there to it. You've also got lots of clearance between the edge of the blade and the opening of the frame. Lots of jimping on the back side of that flipper tab. And you've got the same signature thumb depression that I had in my customs so that you have a good, solid grip on the knife. It's wonderfully machined in, so it's very notchy and very, very tough. Your skin just gets grabbed up and your thumb's not going nowhere. It's got a nice balance to it. It's got a nice weight to it as well. Now, in case I forgot to mention, this is actually a gray, I think it's the Sniper Gray, if I'm not mistaken, gray DLC coating over the titanium and the hardware. And there's going to be an option of black in the future as well. Not very far in the future. It's just they didn't get done as quickly as this version did. So on the front side of the blade, you have the Bastard's Knives logo, which is the middle finger, which I absolutely love. And then you have my maker's mark on the back side. And it is marked on here somewhere that these are 3V. I'm just not sure where. I thought we had a marking on there. My apologies. We do not. You got a beautiful straight edge Wharncliffe here with a sharpening notch. Now that was something that I did not offer on the customs because what I like to do is sweeping plunges, and I like my plunges very, very radiused, and I wanted it to terminate right behind the heel of the edge, and I didn't want to have an ugly notch just kind of interrupting that for no reason. And that was a purely aesthetical choice, but also because it was a fixed blade, it was going to be used for more hard cutting tasks. I could see people going all the way from the heel to the tip when they were cutting things. I didn't want anything that could snag material as they were cutting it. So I wanted that smooth, clean, straight edge all the way back. And so far, not a single complaint from a single client who owns one of those knives. And I started making those in 2017, I want to say. So yeah, I think it worked out just fine. Now, my whole plan for the Tibia was the same as it was for the occipital. Being the first two designs that I had ever done, I wanted to make very small EDC style fixed blades that were easily concealed. You could just have an untucked t-shirt and the knife would disappear on your belt. But I didn't want to sacrifice the size of the blade. I wanted that nice, big, full 4-inch blade. So what I did was I made the handle smaller, even though I have large hands, because I knew we could always put a lanyard on the back, nice and tightly knotted, and get that full 4-finger support. Now on the folder, since this is actually being carried in the pocket like any other folder is, it can be a little bit larger in the handle. So here you've got a full 4-finger hold, even with extra large hands like mine, It's going to be super, super comfortable. So if you ever looked at the Tibia and went, yeah, that's kind of neat, but the handle's too short, I've got big hands, that's going to irk me, you don't have that concern with this knife. There is the overall profile of the knife as it looks. It's got the same speed holes that I had in the custom as well, which, by the way, that ended up being the bane of this knife's existence and why it got retired as early on as it did. Because I used to have to go over to my friend Jerry Moen's shop, and I would have to have him give me a hand with his mill to do the fullers and do the speed holes. Because I never had a mill in my shop. I'm a very, very, very manual kind of knife maker. So every time I wanted to make a tibia, I had to drive, I don't know, was it 20, 25 minutes down to his shop, and he was kind enough to help me out with that. So what I ended up doing was retiring this model very shortly after I retired the occipital, just because it was too difficult to make. Now, if I had had a mill, I probably would have kept making it all the way up until the end. For those wondering, if you already have a tibia and you're used to having a lanyard on there like this, you are able to put a lanyard back here. There is a nice recessed pocket and then the lanyard opening, the lanyard hole, going all the way through the frame. Now, you'll notice that the blade does not come down and intersect with that hole. Those of you that have owned Strider knives know what a pain in the ass that is, because you end up with a lanyard that's all sliced up and eventually falls off. And some of you guys have beads that are $300, $400, $500 that you don't want to just lose in the street because your knife blade is going over into the lanyard hole and cutting your lanyards. That kind of sucks. Anyway, I wanted to give you guys a good full look at this up close and personal so that you could see what the knife looks like, see how it opens, see how it performs. And by the way, here is the back spacer, which has the machined jimping back here to match up with what we have going on in the thumb ramp. Like all together, it looks pretty darn fantastic. And I want to give my sincere, wholehearted thanks to the boys over at Bastards Knives. They did, not only did they do a fantastic job in executing this, but they were a pleasure to work with throughout this entire process because, like I said, I'm a very manual knife maker. I don't even sit down and draw up CADs and stuff like that for my customs. So when I go to collaborate with a manufacturer to do a production knife, it's particularly challenging for them because I'm giving them chicken scratch on a piece of paper. I'm giving them my original hand drawings. When I sit down and I sketch out the knives that I'm going to make as a custom, I do it on a big art pad with a pencil. That's how I do everything. And then when I decide, hey, I really want to make that into a folder, I'll do the same thing with pencil again. And then I put a whole bunch of handwritten notes on there, and I have to then hope that that's going to get transposed correctly into the final product. And it's not always easy to do prototypes. In a lot of cases, these companies want to just go straight to production to get the product out there because it takes so long to go from submitting your artwork to that product being finalized on the production line. So by doing a prototype, it can throw a wrench into things. And that did slow us down here for this. These we were really hoping to have out by June for Blade Show Atlanta, but that did not happen because I stressed very much that I wanted to see the prototypes and handle them and feel them and make any corrections that had to be made prior to production. Because I've had some knives that we've done prototypes on and some that we didn't, and problems arose. So I wanted to make sure, for me, the Tibia and the Hellraiser are more of my signature designs than any others. So on the Tibia and also on my Hellraiser project that's coming out with MechForce soon, I really, really pushed to make sure we had prototypes, to make sure everything was perfect. And I'm so very fortunate that Bastards knives were not bastards. They were really, really awesome about the whole thing. Didn't complain about any of my eccentricities whatsoever, and made this a wonderful project to work on. And I truly hope, after having that experience and seeing the quality of the knife that they have turned out, I truly hope that we get a chance to do something again in the future. And I went to them because I really liked the quality of knives that they were making that I own, that are in my collection right now. And I went, I know these guys can absolutely do this right. And that goes all the way back to the first button lock that I've loved in a lot of years. I used to love button locks, and then people started making some really crappy button locks. And these guys hopped onto the scene. I got a chance to get this and went, wow, that's a really solid knife. I was super surprised. So when I was kind of talking back and forth with them long after doing this review, they said, hey, we'd love to do something with you. Do you have any designs that you want to produce as a folder? And I said, yeah, actually, absolutely do. And you guys are pretty much the perfect choice for it. And they liked it. I liked it, and Jose himself owns one of the Riat Tibias. So it's something that he owns and he carries and he digs it. So he's like, yeah, that really is perfect for us. And then serendipity, I suppose. So anyway, I'm going to end it here before I just keep rambling on and on and on and on and on. Thank you guys so much for joining me as always. If you do happen to pick up one of these over at bastardsKnives.com, remember to use the code Skelton10 to get your 10% off. And I truly hope that you enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed offering these. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next video.